Good morning. Welcome back to Turkey Foot Farms. I'm Pat, and thought I'd share with you real quick my plans for creep feeding this year. I didn't do it last year, even though I got a 40-pound average 90-day weight. I'd like to do a little better than that. Obviously, I think I have the genetics for good gain if they averaged 40 pounds during a drought with no creep feed, but this is what I got. This is just going to be the free flow feeder. It is actually an old self-feed feeder for my childhood that we used for the chickens, and I think before that, or maybe it was marketed as a hog feeder. I'm really not sure. It's had some modifications over the years. My dad cut out a slot there to make it a little bigger, let the grain flow out. And I think he wanted the grain to cover up the whole bottom, which I believe backfired because the chickens just got in there and scratched it out. I think for what I'm going to use it for, I'll probably weld, pop rivet, JB weld something back in there. Maybe make it to where it can slide up and down and I can adjust the feed rate. That might actually be what I do. That way there's probably only a little bit of grain down here. And the kids can eat from that. And I'll probably take something similar to this setup here, maybe a little bit smaller, maybe half that size, section it off and build a creep gate with rebar and PVC pipe for the kids to slide through it. I can adjust it as they grow, but use that for my feed dispenser. For now, I'll probably just stick it in there, and that's how I'll give Mama grain or something like that. I don't know. So, just wanted to share that with you. I know creep feeding is kind of controversial, and I think it's probably pretty important to do if you early kid, or if you just want to get a bigger goat at weaning time. But sometimes accelerating that kid's growth kind of shoot yourself in the foot, because you might get that kid to maximum size at the worst time of the year, like say, I don't know, September, August, July, something like that, where that's the low of the market. And if you held on till November, maybe you could have saved a little money in creep feed and got a little better price. But I do think with goats and sheep, really goats, because I don't know many people that buy 30-40 pound kids and put them in a feed yard and put finish on them and then take them to slaughter. I've heard people do that with sheep, buy feeder kids at 30-40, feeder lambs at 30-40 pounds, and put them in a feed lot for 60 days, and off you go to slaughter, and they have a much better product. But with goats, I just don't hear a lot of people doing that. And more than size of the goat, I think it's the finish, how much fat they got on them, their muscle conformation. Size does play a little bit of factor, but I really think if you take a skinny kid to the market and it weighs 50 pounds, it's definitely not going to bring as much as a fat kid that weighs 50 pounds, maybe even half, especially if it's a dairy breed. And then that's your maybe your meat conformation and your bone structure more than anything on that. But I really think it's the finish. So at some point, I think to get a good market price, or get a top market price anyway, on your goat kids, you got to have some finish on them. So whether you do that when they're still on the mom and you creep feed them, and you just let them stay on creep feed until 90, 100 days, and you haul them off, or 120 days, you haul them off to the cell barn, or you creep feed them and then wean them and then put them on full feed for however long, another 2 months, I don't know, and fatten them up wherever you like them. But I think that's how you get good finish on them. You might be able to do it with a good pasture-based system. Maybe if you had some good fields with legumes, different stuff like that, that might help you out. What we got going on here? Looks like he took out some of his fur. Wonder if he's got mange. Yeah. It almost looks like, is that on the right side? It almost looks like he was slipping underneath this. Underneath here, maybe he shaved off some of his fur. I don't know, that is very peculiar. No, I couldn't say that word, but very odd looking. Anyway, there you have it. That's my plans for creep feeding. I'll show you in a week or so when I get a creep gate built and get it all set up and working right. But I'd be curious to know how other people do it, maybe what their market strategy is, their feed strategy, or if you just don't mess with it and you just say they are what they are and they go to market how they are. That was a lot of R's in there, but yeah, if you got an opinion on it, maybe comment, let me know. I'm going to be learning every day for the rest of my life, so I can always learn something else. And I full disclosure here, how I do it tomorrow and how I do it 2 years from now might be different than how I do it 10 years from now. I'm probably going to change it. Whatever fits my needs and my resources, and go from there. So, see you on the next one, guys. Hopefully everybody's staying warm.